Somewhere, there is a version of you that learned to walk. A version that heard your name for the first time and slowly understood it meant you. A version that cried, laughed, fell, and was lifted back up 1,000 times. And you cannot remember a single second of it. Try right now. Reach back as far as you can. For almost everyone, the memory wall stands somewhere around age 3. And before it, there is nothing. Not darkness, not blur, just absence. This is one of the strangest facts about your own mind. You spent the most important developmental years of your entire life completely awake, completely present, learning faster than you ever will again. And your brain kept almost none of it. But here is what nobody tells you. Those years were not lost because nothing happened. They were lost because your brain was deleting them on purpose. The phenomenon has a name. It is called infantile amnesia, and the term was coined more than a century ago by Sigmund Freud. Freud noticed that his adult patients could rarely recall anything before the age of 6 or 7. He assumed the memories were being repressed, hidden away because they were threatening. He was wrong about the why, but he was right that something systematic was erasing the beginning of every human life. For a long time, scientists assumed the answer was simple. Babies must not form memories at all. Their brains are too undeveloped, the reasoning went, so there is nothing to remember in the first place. That explanation felt obvious. It was also completely false. In the 1980s and 1990s, a psychologist named Carolyn Rovee-Collier proved that babies remember far more than anyone believed. She tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a colorful mobile hanging above the crib. The baby quickly learned that kicking made the mobile dance. Then she brought the baby back days later. The moment the mobile appeared, the baby started kicking, remembering exactly what to do. A 3-month-old could hold that memory for over a week. A 6-month-old could hold it for 2. So memory is not missing in infancy. The machinery is running, which deepens the mystery instead of solving it. If your infant brain could form and hold memories, where did all of them go? The answer begins with the part of your brain that builds memories in the first place. It is called the hippocampus. Think of it as the brain's recording studio, the place where scattered moments are stitched into a lasting memory you can replay later. And in a baby, that studio is under heavy construction. In your first years, the hippocampus is exploding with new neurons. This process is called neurogenesis, the birth of fresh brain cells, and it happens faster in infancy than at any other time in life. It sounds like a good thing. More brain cells, more power. But there is a hidden cost that almost no one expects. In 2014, neuroscientists Paul Frankland and Josselyn ran an experiment that reframed the entire question. They studied memory in young mice, whose brains forget early life just like yours did. And they found that the flood of new neurons was not just building the brain, it was overwriting it. Picture your memories as paths carved into a forest. Now imagine thousands of new trees erupting from the ground every single day. The new growth is healthy, it is necessary, but it tears straight through the old paths until they can no longer be followed. That is what high neurogenesis does to an infant memory. The circuit that held it gets rewired before the memory can ever become permanent. Frankland and Josselyn proved it by pushing the process in both directions. When they increased neurogenesis in older mice, the animals started forgetting things they normally would have kept. When they slowed neurogenesis in young mice, those babies held on to memories they normally would have lost. The forgetting was not an accident of a weak brain. It was the direct price of a brain growing at full speed. So your earliest memories were real. They were simply built on ground that kept getting plowed under. But neurogenesis is only half the story. Because forgetting events is different from never being able to tell your own story at all. This is where a second, deeper change comes in. To hold an autobiographical memory, a memory of something that happened to you need a sense of you. You need a stable idea of yourself as a person moving through time, someone who existed yesterday and will exist tomorrow. And a baby does not have that yet. That sense of self does not switch on at birth. It assembles slowly, somewhere between the ages of 2 and 4. Around the same time, something else arrives: language. Once you have words, you can label experience. You can turn a raw moment into a small story, with a beginning, a middle, and a you at the center of it. Before language, the moment happens, but there is no narrator to write it down. The psychologist Patricia Bauer has spent decades tracking exactly how this develops. Her research shows that young children do form real memories, but those memories are fragile and they decay far faster than an adult's. A child of 3 might clearly remember a trip from last year. By age 7, that same memory is often simply gone. The early mind does not just forget faster. It forgets the forgetting, leaving no trace that anything was ever there. And the timing of all this is not fixed, it bends with culture. The psychologist Wang compared the earliest memories of adults across different countries. She found that people raised in cultures that tell rich, detailed family stories tend to remember further back than people raised in cultures that emphasize the group over the individual. The age of your first memory was shaped in part by how the people around you talked about the past. Your forgetting was personal. It was also cultural. Now step back and look at what this means. The person you are reading this with did not appear fully formed. You were assembled quietly in years you will never be able to visit. The way you bond, the way you handle fear, the first sounds that taught you what love sounds like, all of it went in. None of it can be recalled. This is the strangest part of all. You are, right now, living proof of memories you cannot access. The toddler who touched something hot and learned to be careful is gone, but the caution remains in you. The infant who was comforted again and again is gone, but the expectation that comfort exists may still shape how you trust people today. The events vanished. Their fingerprints did not. So your earliest self was not erased because it failed. It was erased because it succeeded. It did its one job, which was to wire you. And then it dissolved to make room for everything you would become. Forgetting was not the brain breaking down. It was the brain growing up. Which leaves you with a quiet, almost unbelievable truth. You will never remember the years that mattered most. But you have been carrying them with you this entire time, in every reaction you cannot explain and every comfort you reach for without knowing why. Somewhere, there is a version of you that learned to walk. You cannot picture their face or hear their voice or recall a single thing they saw, but you are standing on everything they learned.